Okay, welcome to Texting and Driving Building the App. This is going to be our first video to go through the first couple parts and kind of introduce it. So, uh, now that you're going, you've read this. We're building an app in Google Sheets. So, first step in the directions is open this new Google Sheet and then watch these videos to help you build your app. So, I'm going to go ahead and open this sheet. You're going to have it where it automatically tells you to make a copy. And while that's loading, the first thing that I want you to do is put your name on it. So some of this title I would recommend keeping. But if you just click right here where it says insert name and delete everything in front of it. Now this is going to be, for me, Mr. Martin's app, Computational Think for Texting and Driving. I want you to put your name on that. Okay, then you'll see that I formatted it a little bit for you. Okay, I've gotten rid of some cells so that we're not distracted by them. I've inserted a little diagram for you. This is a pretty standard physics diagram where we're going to be looking at distance while distracted, distance while reacting, and distance while braking. Right? We've done those few scenarios already in our practices, and then we're going to be putting them together to see if that is either greater than or less than the distance to the walker. But to start, we're going to need two real pieces of information. And the first piece of information is going to be what I would call your user input. Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger for us, and I know the next one needs to be a little bigger as well. Okay, so user input, and we can go ahead and make that one green. The next category that we're going to have is the program is going to calculate something, and I'm just going to give a little bit of space here, but we'll go ahead and call this distance outputs, because the program is going to calculate the distance and output it for us. So now with that being said, we have our first category here, and I'm going to kind of line the title up with my graphic here. And the title is going to be distance while distracted equals. So if you put that in there, and I actually want it to align right, it'll look a little neater here in a minute. Ooh, whoops. Undo that. Sorry, distance while distracted. This is our header. I was getting ahead of myself. The next one is going to be the velocity of the car equals. And this one you do want to align right. So if it doesn't align right, you want to make sure you go up here and align it right. This is because we want it closer to the number that the user is going to input. So then again, we want the user to know that this is an input. So we're going to mark it green. And for right now, I'm just going to set it at 0. Okay, that'll let you see that a number is supposed to go there. And we want to remind the user that our velocity is going to be in meters per second. Okay, the next thing we need to know when calculating distance is not only the velocity of the car, but the amount of time that the car is traveling at that velocity. So in this situation, it is time of distraction. And again, this is straight from our activities where we looked at how long does it take you to read a text and respond to a text and put your phone down. So again, kind of as a placeholder, we're going to put 0.0 and seconds. And this is another input though, so we don't want to forget to make it green. Now we're ready to have it calculate the distance while distracted. And we want the answer to go over here into the output. Let's go ahead and make the distance outputs a red column. And so this is, again, where I want the answer to show up. And the answer is going to be in meters, so I can go ahead and do that. It automatically bolded for me. You can bold it or not. That's going to be up to you. But then we want to think about our equation to solve for distance. And really, we had kind of two ways of looking at it. It was either y equals mx plus b, and so m was our velocity and x was our time. So really, the other way was distance equals velocity times time. And so to do that, when you want a cell to be equal to something, you can actually tell that. So you do the equal sign. So this cell, whoops, equals the velocity, and I just clicked it. So by clicking on it, you can see that C4. So any value that goes into C4 here will now be inserted there. So C4 times with the little star. Okay, you can usually find that above the 8. So if you do Shift 8, it'll give you a little star for multiplying. And then you want to multiply it by the time. And so C6, I clicked that value and I hit enter. And so right now it's going to be 0. But we can double check this. If I enter a velocity, let's say of 5 meters per second, for 1 second, the answer should be 5. There it is. It traveled 5 meters in 1 second, and that's what it's telling us right there. Next, we have our distance while reacting. So, again, I'm going to make this a title while reacting. And then we have our velocity. So it's going to be an identical setup here. So this is now, whoops, velocity of the car equals, and again, I want to make that align to the right so it looks like it's close and associated with this number. But we don't want the user to have to input it again, right? They've already inputted it. We don't want to have to keep repeating themselves. When you're designing an app, you want it to be user-friendly and pretty simple. So we got the velocity of the car already. So I can go equals, so I'm setting this cell equal to this cell, enter. And so now any value that I put up here is going to change down here, and we can test that. So if I do 10, now it's 10. And yet again, we want to label the meters per second. I'll go down a little bit again and title this one time of reaction. And want to make sure that it aligns to the right. This, though, is going to be a user input that's new, okay? And this is going to be based on some of those reaction times that we calculated. You see how it automatically made it 0? I tried entering 0.0. You can make sure you add a decimal point. Reason for that, we're going to want that data depending on the type of numbers we're putting in there. I might even do 2 for this one. And then this is seconds again. Last but not least, we can program it to calculate the distance while reacting. Okay, again, go ahead and align right. And then that's going to be over here for an output. So if I go and set that to red, again, it's going to be meters. I can set that to bold. Okay. And it's going to be the same equation, right? So equals, we might as well do the first one so that it's consistent, but really it's the same number. The velocity of the car times the time that it's reacting. So, or the time it takes for reaction. Enter. So now it's at 0 because I said the reaction was 0. But a lot of our data was 0.2, maybe 5. So 250 milliseconds was a pretty common number. And so now it's calculated for us. It's gone 3 meters at that velocity while simply reacting. Okay, that's going to be it for this first video. The next video, we'll finish the activity and identify these tabs for us.